the route that we took is a good example of the mentality that's still really dominant in all the rest of Finland. It's something that we're changing here in Helsinki. For years, they would never even have considered putting bicycle infrastructure there onto Mannerheimintie because we have a cycle track here. Who would want to cycle there anyway? So currently, if you go from here about a kilometer that way to Reijolanкatu, which is the one that we crossed, there's no bicycle infrastructure, so by law, you have to ride on the bus lane. And it's only after we really took that integrated approach into cycling, it became clear, actually to all our planners, that okay, we need bicycle infrastructure on Mannerheimintie as well. It's not that everyone wants to cycle there, but as you can see, it's really dense and mixed land use, so there's definitely a demand for cycling there. So what happens currently is that everyone cycles on the sidewalk, except the cycling activists who are really well read in the law, they ride on the bus lanes. So we have a plan already. The general plan was already made with unidirectional bicycle facilities on both sides. It was problematic. I'd say we ended up doing a pretty good job with it, but it could have been better. There was a lot of debate on how we should allocate space between trees, cycle tracks and pedestrians, and now with the final product with not very many trees being added, it's once again being blamed on a cyclist. Those damn cycle tracks are removing all the trees. Now unfortunately there's a big elephant in the room which was never addressed. It was taken as a given that we of course have to have 2 lanes in both directions for cars on that street. I remember I was the only one saying in one meeting that we should definitely study a network scenario where we only have 1 lane in each direction. I was pretty much laughed at. It's like, you crazy, one of our main streets in the city center, we need 2 lanes for cars in both directions. And that was the end of that discussion. And then it's the thing that kind of gets me frustrated is that when we start talking about bicycle facilities, it's a cycling that suddenly becomes the culprit for cutting down trees. So that we still have that elephant in the room problem here, but that is slowly, thankfully, going in a better direction. There has been a lot of discussion concerning that plan, and well, now I'm just speculating, but I wouldn't be surprised if we had to revisit it at some point or another. But it's a big problem that we're having on a more network level that we've been talking about a lot in our meetings on Teams, where the big street hierarchy approach and looking at it from a much more wider perspective than just 1 kilometer street is really still lacking in our transport planning. So we really do this kind of patch planning with 1 kilometer stretches of street, one bit by bit,